Hello, welcome to Bike Social. I'm Michael Mann, and you join me once again here at the Triumph UK headquarters in Leicestershire. Now, 2021 has already proved to be a very busy year for the firm. We've seen the Trident, we've seen the Tiger 850 Sport, and we've seen the Speed Triple 1200 RS. But today we're going to see not one, not two, but 7 upgraded motorbikes from the modern classic range. Yes, it's time for the Bonneville upgrades. But first, we're going to learn a little bit more about the history of the brand. So I'm going to be talking to Miles Perkins and Steve Sargent from Triumph about the brand, about the DNA, and also we're going to see detail about the 7 new motorbikes. Well, you join me here with Miles Perkins, Head of Brand Management of Triumph. Miles, thank you so much once again for bringing us on down. Now, you've had a busy year, haven't you, 2021? We've already touched on the 3 new models that we've already seen from Triumph, and you've got 7 more, and then some more maybe later on in the year as well.
Yes, we'll have the Scramblers in the Bonneville family. We're going to be releasing those in April, and more to come after that.
Oh, excellent. Good news. Well, let's concentrate on what we've got in front of us for now. Now, this is clearly not a new motorcycle. But the Bonneville range still exists. Tell me about the DNA of that, of the range.
Okay, well, I mean, to me, what you're looking at here is the genesis of what's gone on to be, at least in our family today, more than 12 motorcycles, depending on how you look at it. And I would consider this one of those rare things you can call an actual icon. This is the 1959 Bonneville T120. T120 because the marketing of the day said 120 equals 120 miles an hour, and Bonneville because it was named after the land speed record Triumph braking record, 214 miles an hour in 1956. And when the American market were saying to Triumph manufacturing here in the Midlands, we want more power, we want more performance, what the bike that they asked for was this. And it was named after the Bonneville salt flats. And it was designed very much as you see today to appeal to that a little bit more of the American kind of flavour. But it looks like a classic, but actually back in the day this was the first what you could call British superbike. Right. This changed the parameters of performance, twin carbs, high compression. It was literally the fastest, best handling production bike you could buy, and that made it a big success from there on in.
Here and abroad, right?
Yes, so in Europe, this kicked off, I would say, or it played a big part in that teenage rocker revolution, where teenagers in the UK and in Europe got credit for the first time, post-war austerity, and biking was sort of one of the things they did, and this was the bike of choice because it would take a single off the lights and do your North Circular race the record. It won on the racetrack, so Malcolm Uphill set the first 100-mile-an-hour production lap at the Isle of Man on the racing version of this, which was nicknamed the Thruxton, because they raced it at the Thruxton 500 race series. And then in America, this basically became the genesis for, I would say, almost all modern classic flavour of bike came from this. Can be drawn back to this. So the Scramblers of the day, the desert sleds, with high pipes, the cruisers, the bobbers, and of course the cafe racers all came from this, which wasn't a classic. It was actually, you know, the sort of Bugatti Veyron of its day.
I still fancy doing one of those race the records. Maybe we could have a go on this.
Our Spec Mark at the Ace Cafe, we'd love to see us down there.
That's a really, really long record.
Yeah.
Good stuff. And this has obviously influenced the progression of the line of the Bonneville range through the years.
Yes, I think there's a sort of a history repeating itself, because when Triumph relaunched or brought Bonneville back in 2001, although actually between Meriden and Hinckley the Bonneville was continued to be made, following its return with what effectively was the classic, that then repeated history by then becoming Scrambler derivatives, cafe racers with the Thruxton, the Bobber, the Speedmaster, which is the cruiser version of it. There is that bloodline DNA, and what sits at the heart of it is the parallel twin engine, which is that British twin sound, and the character, which is all about torque, but also that silhouette, that look, the engine fins. You know, what people said back in the day was this looked like it would do 100 miles an hour standing still, and I think that's still true today. They're just beautiful.
Then we reached 2021, and it's still influencing your modern classic range with 7 new motorcycles for this year.
For a lot of people, I think, in the world, this bike is the sort of the hallmark of Triumph. We have Moto2 Racing and the Daytona and lots of other fabulous names, but I think the Bonneville is quite synonymous with Triumph globally, and it makes up for more than half of our lineup and sales. So yeah, it's incredibly important.
Really, half of your sales?
Yeah, it depends whether you're talking about bikes or profits, but yeah, it's a very significant bike for Triumph.
But in terms
and Triumph fans, of course.
In terms of the sort of the modern day modern classics, so from what, 2015 onwards would it be? Sort of Street Twin, that kind of era?
Yeah, 2001 was the beginning of the family, but 2015 was when they took a major update, and I would say that's when the performance and specification of the word modern genuinely, sort of ticked all the boxes. So the Thruxton, proper performance cafe racer. So yeah, 2015 was sort of the turning point for that, and that was when we launched this. I think one of the things that the Triumph and the team were keen to sort of commit to was to continue to bring this iconic name to riders, but today's version of it. So keep that classic DNA and the character and the ride, but make it the best bike it possibly could be, just as it was back in the day when this was the best bike in the world.
Yeah, so it's still got the benchmark. Brilliant. Thank you so much for the history lesson. I think what I'm going to do now is go and look at the new bike. Well, I'm now joined by Steve Sargent, Chief Product Officer of Triumph. Steve, thank you so much for letting us come and have a look around.
Yeah, morning, Michael.
You've got not just one, not just two, but 7 new bikes.
Yeah.
Or upgraded bikes.
Quite a lineup, isn't it?
Yes, impressive too. Yes, some good colours here as well. They're real, almost like nostalgic with the kind of the modern classicness about it all. But tell me first of all, was it Euro 5 that sort of promoted or prompted an upgrade of the range?
So clearly, Euro 5 is one of the big things that we've done to the bikes, but we didn't want Euro 5 to be the reason for updating the bikes. What we were looking for really was to make an improvement in the capability and the performance, and just to move the bikes on. I mean, I think the essential thing about the classics and the Bonneville range is to continually evolve them, keep them relevant, make them capable, and just make them a great everyday motorcycle.
Well, we've got to remember all of them now, haven't we? So T100, T120, T120 Black, Speedmaster, Bobber, Street Twin, and Street Twin Gold Line. So
Indeed.
That's the limited edition version. Why did you feel as though you needed a limited edition to compensate or to accentuate that particular part of the range?
It's really to do something a little bit special for fans of the range and fans of the brand. The Gold Line colour scheme is quite spectacular, I think, and I think it really suits the bike as well. I think it's something that's just a little bit special. They're going to be limited edition, so there's only going to be 1,000 of them worldwide. So I think that gives it a little bit of credibility, exclusivity, and I think it's really going to be one of those bikes that if you want one, do get in early.
Yeah, get in fast. Yeah, because they're going to go, aren't they? Why only 1,000?
Again, it's all about giving that kind of exclusivity and kind of credibility to the bike. It's giving somebody who's a fan of the bike and a fan of the brand something that's that little bit special, a little bit different from the standard bike. So 2 engine capacities within the parallel twin world in which we stand, 900 and 1200. What are the main changes that you had to go through with each of them to make it Euro 5 compliant, or more than Euro 5 compliant? So we've done actually quite a bit of work to the engines. So we've made quite a lot of changes to the internals. Now, some of that is about Euro 5, but some of it is also about moving them on and giving an improvement in performance. So we've, on all of these bikes, we've got a reduction in inertia in the engine. So that's taking weight out of the crankshaft, taking weight out of the clutch, taking weight out of the balancer shafts. So that really helps the bike to spin up a little bit more. On the emissions side, catalysts are obviously a big part of getting through emissions these days. So there's larger catalysts on the bike with more precious metals on there, which are expensive. And then we've added secondary air in there to clean up the exhaust gases, There's some changes on the porting on the T100. So there's a few different changes that have been made. Some of them have been made to get through Euro 5, but as I say, some of them have also been made to improve the performance.
Such a popular range as well, aren't they? The classics. They've got that sort of nostalgic feel about them, but they've got modern technology hidden. And the build quality is something I often touch on with Triumph, especially when you're talking about the catalytic converters and the way those exhaust runs come through. There's a lot of detail going on here, isn't there? And there's, like you said, there's the way in which motorbikes, the world of motorcycling moves on, research and development and technology too. With the electronics on a lot of these bikes, did you feel as though you needed to just kind of stay where you were as opposed to moving them on? I mean, there are a couple of the different bikes here have got cruise control now as standard, haven't they, for example?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things that we have done on the electronic side. So if you look at the riding modes now, we've got different traction control and ABS maps between the road and the rain modes. Mm-hmm. So what we do in terms of making improvements like that is basically we listen to customers, and the things that we've changed on all of these bikes, not just on the electronics, is basically based on feedback from the customers in terms of what they do like about their bikes, what they don't want us to change, because there's a lot of people who are saying, please don't do that to my Bonneville, I love it as it is. But what we do is where we get feedback, where we can make an improvement, we take that on board and we do what we can to improve that.
So headline-wise, where are the big differences compared to the older models? I would certainly suggest with the bobber and the front wheel, so that's gone from what, a 19 to a 16 inch, is that right?
On the bobber, we've gone to the fat front end on the bobber. So we've got that fat front tyre look, but also the other big change that we've got on the bobber is the larger fuel tank. So we've gone up to a 12-litre fuel tank, and again, you know, that was a response directly to feedback from customers who said, absolutely love my bobber, I'd like to ride it a bit longer. Yeah. So can you please give me a little bit more petrol in the tank? So, you know, we've done that, we've given them 12 litres in the tank.
Brilliant, yeah, it'll last a lot longer. And this particular model we've got here has got some of the accessories on it as well, right? Yeah,
so that one's got the accessory footboards on and the accessory seat. We've got a couple of accessories on this T100. We've got the screen and the back pad. And obviously, accessories is a huge part of our offering on the Bonneville range. I think it's over 85% of people put some kind of accessories or customization on their bobbers. So, you know, giving people the option to do what they want with the bikes is a huge part of the story.
85%, is it just the bobber or is it the...
No, the whole range. The whole range.
Yeah, mega, that's fantastic, isn't it? Steve, let's just talk about a couple of the other models. T120, T100, again, they sort of follow on in the bobber in terms of the more significant changes out of the range. Do you want to start with the T120 perhaps? The
T120, as we've already covered, obviously Euro 5, we've got that reduction in inertia. Mm-hmm. The reduction in inertia also gives a reduction in mass on the bike, so we've actually got a 7 kilo weight saving on the T120. Another part of that is we've changed the wheel rims on the bike from steel to aluminium. The benefits of that are not just mass, as you know, obviously it's a rotating mass, so in terms of how that changes the handling of the bike, you know, it makes it more responsive, it makes it turn into corners a lot better, you know, really does make it a more dynamic ride. So that's quite a big change on the T120. We've added single button cruise control on the bike as well, which again, feedback from the customers on T120s, these guys do tour on these bikes, so you know it's a bike that people love to ride for the weekends, but they also do some distance on them, so for people who do that, giving them cruise control was quite a key thing. On the T100, again a weight reduction, so we've got 4 kilos weight reduction. The majority of that comes out of the inertia in the engine, and then we've got 10 PS more power. So we've made changes to the camshafts and also to the ports in the cylinder head to get that extra power out of the bike. And again, that's a big part of, you know, evolving these bikes, moving them forward and giving the customers what they're asking for.
And it's still A2 compliant as well? There's a kit?
So all of the 900s are A2 compliant, so you can get a kit to restrict it down to A2, and then obviously after you've passed your test, go back to your dealer and then they'll de-restrict it for you.
Plenty of new colours as well in the whole range.
Yeah, lots of new colours. So we've got some new reds. You can see a new red here on the bobber. We've got the ironstone on the street twin. On the T120s, we've got a silver and red colour scheme. There's also a silver and blue. On the T100s, we've got a red and a white that you can see here. We've got a blue and a white as well. And then always on these bikes, we always have a jet black as an option. Jet black just remains an incredibly popular colour.
Right.
Yeah. You know, there's always a fan base for black bikes. So,
Stealthy.
yeah.
And one of my favourites is the Speedmaster. There's some big changes with this as well, right?
We've improved the comfort on the seat on the Speedmaster. We've actually also made an improvement in the comfort on the seat on the Street Twin as well. But again, response to feedback. I've had one of these bikes for a year. I absolutely loved it, and I did quite a lot of touring on the bike. Now, for me, the seat was absolutely fine, but we had some feedback from maybe a few taller riders who said that they like the lumbar support that you could get on the accessory seat. So we've added the lumbar support as standard, a bit more foam in the seat. The other big improvement on the Speedmaster is the larger diameter forks. So we've got 47mm cartridge forks on the front end. So that's up from the 41mm, and that just gives better control of that front wheel, gives you a better damping, better feel.
Yep. Brakes have been upgraded on a lot of these models as well, right?
Indeed, they have. So we've got Brembo brakes now, twin pop Brembos on the T120, obviously twin disc twin pop Brembos on the T120, single disc twin pop Brembos on the T100.
Styling-wise, you know, it's not as obvious perhaps, but there are lots of little styling elements that have been upgraded too, and instrument panels have been upgraded too.
Instrument panels have been upgraded. On the T120, we've got a new tank badge. Got quite a few changes on the Street Twin. So on the Street Twin, obviously we made an improvement in the engine performance last year.
Yeah.
This year we've focused on the cosmetics. So for example, we've got a new throttle body cover, we've got a new side panel on there, and we've got a new restyled seat on the bike, new headlight brackets as well, and as you've said, the new instruments.
So the real fans will know the changes, won't they? They'll know.
The new I mean, the real fans will know the changes. I mean, obviously, the bikes are absolutely iconic. So, you know, people actually get a little bit upset if you move them too far.
Yeah.
So you've got to evolve them, but you've got to evolve them in a way that's sympathetic and, you know, doesn't alienate yourself from your fan base.
No, it makes perfect sense. All right, Steve, well, if I was to give you the keys to any one of them now to take home, which one's your favourite?
I'd go home on the Bobber.
Would you?
Yeah, absolutely love it.
It does stand out, doesn't it? Not only that colour, that new colour, but no, it does.
It's a unique machine. It's a unique machine, isn't it? You know, and
makes
it's
people look.
really got a huge fan base.
Brilliant. Look, thank you so much for your time, for introducing the models. Can't wait to get on them. It's been good stuff. Thank you for watching. You've got all the details at bikesocial.co.uk, including all the specs of all of these models, all the prices and availability too. Thanks very much for joining us. See you next time.